With hurricane season just a couple of weeks away, some members in Congress are looking to establish a federal fund that would deal with natural disasters. The discussion comes under the backdrop of the possible extension of the Terrorism Risk Insurance Act later this year. So the question we're asking today is, should the government be managing economic risk? Here now with their respective opinions are Kevin Hassett. He is the Economic Policy Studies Director at the American Enterprise Institute. Also, Christian Weller. He's the Senior Economist at the Center for American Progress. And gentlemen, good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
All right, Kevin, let me start things off with you. Should the government be in the business of trying to manage risk through private industry?
Absolutely not. There's no role for government whatsoever, because when the government enters, the only thing that it does is mess things up. Let's think about terrorism risk insurance. What the government does is it bails out insurance companies for free if a bad terrorist event happens. What that does is it drives down the price of terrorism insurance, and it makes it so that the market doesn't make the adjustments that it should make and would make if insurance were costly. And so we probably shouldn't be building lots of tall buildings in center cities right now. We should probably be spreading out a little to make ourselves a little safer. But what we're doing is we're subsidizing these big, I think, attractors of terrorism in a way that's
really?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the same with flood insurance as well. If we go in and we bail people out if they lose their houses because of a hurricane, then they build all these really nice million-dollar properties right next to the beach. And so what we need to do is let that insurance become costly so people adjust.
Hold on there. Christian, what do you think about this? Is this a case where we shouldn't be rebuilding New Orleans, we shouldn't be rebuilding places on the federal on the floodplains, and we shouldn't be building buildings in the middle of the city, big buildings?
Well, when it comes to terrorism insurance, I think the problem of what is insured here is much larger than that, especially think about a biological attack. It's not about attacking buildings, but it's hurting people. And then terrorism insurance is the backstop right now for things such as workers' comp or life insurance for people who are being hurt in the attack. It's not about the buildings, and there's very little we can do about it. And we know that especially when it comes to insurance risks and attacks, against attacks, chemical, biological, nuclear, or radiological, the market just simply doesn't exist, and it's currently excluded from the insurance. I think we do need the government backstop there.
Christian, Kevin brings up a really good point. There are a lot of people who, after the floods, started to say, some of them got in trouble for it, but should we be rebuilding New Orleans? Should we be putting big buildings back in the center of these cities? What do you say to that basic question?
Well, as a nation, we have decided to rebuild New Orleans. It is a major commercial hub. It is a national heritage site, and I think as a nation we have made that decision. And once we consider that socially viable and of importance to us, then we need to figure out how we actually make sure that insurance is available if the market doesn't provide it. We know in Louisiana insurance companies have been withdrawing, and there is a need for the government to step in to provide that extra backstop so insurance companies can offer the insurance.
You know, Kevin, free market is a great idea, but there may actually be some instances where there's a need for government stepping in. Is there any case that you could think of on this?
Well, not on insurance. I think that insurance, basically, if there is no insurance, remember what that means is not that it doesn't happen, but just that you bear the risk. And so build a house in a floodplain, and you really wanted to do that, then you could do that. We're not saying that you can't do that. New Orleans would be rebuilt. The thing is that what would happen would be that people would build structures that would be able to withstand the kind of things that people would expect. And so the problem is that right now we're inducing people to take too much risk, and we're keeping our economy from adjusting to potential terrorist threats.
Or there are people who have lived there. There are people who have lived there and who have grown up there, and what would you expect them to be doing at that point? Just packing up and leaving town?
No, they can go in and they can rebuild. The thing is that we shouldn't go in and tell the taxpayers that, look, you have to bear the risk for these people that are making pretty bad decisions about where they locate their properties, especially if you think of all these wonderful oceanfront properties that the typical American just doesn't have access to. You know, to have them bearing the risk of rebuilding them, it just doesn't seem fair to me.
Gentlemen, I have the feeling this is going to be a pretty contentious topic coming up down the road as we look to decide whether to renew that act or not. Thank you both for joining us today. Appreciate it. Once again, Christian Weller and Kevin Hassett. Let's get over to Liz Clayman right now. Get a